everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Nations Round number 4, driving at Fuji Speedway in the Group 1 cars. We're going to ride on board first up with my first lap in qualifying. This was quite a nice lap for my first, obviously, proper run. What I decided to do in qualifying was do a slow out lap, obviously, get rid of some fuel, pit for some new tyres, and then go for a flying lap because burning a little bit of fuel. You see, not a massive amount, still got 76% fuel and just about got away without getting a time penalty there on that corner. But driving quite a nice lap so far, considering we got quite heavy fuel on board down into the braking zone. Hooked that up reasonably nice in second gear, used some of the revs, and then early upshifting to third and fourth. Accelerate now all the way into the tricky right hand corner, a corner that can catch you out if you just carry that little bit too much speed in, pushing the braking fairly aggressively but managing to get it just in time into the apex, and then lining it up to get on the power now into the final very technical sector of the track, where you've just got to be very patient on the throttle and try and hook up the lines. And you can see so far the lap has been going really well, actually driving quite a nice lap for this first lap with the heavy fuel, and accelerating now into the final corner, down into second gear, and then just waiting before putting the throttle down. You can see on the power, it's early upshifting to third, then into fourth gear, then using the hybrid all the way now to the finishing line. So not a bad lap that. Let's see what it was as we go over the line. It looks like it's going to be a 126.0, so a very nice lap that was for my first lap in the qualifying session for the FIA Nations, obviously with quite heavy fuel. And so moving on now to the final run, obviously now we've got a little bit less fuel, you can see down to 40%, fresh tyres on, and this was the final lap obviously before the qualifying is going to run out. You can see 1 minute left, but obviously if you start a lap now in qualifying you can finish that lap. So going down into turn 1, trying to push the braking a little bit more on this lap. Obviously the fuel's lighter and I wanted to be a bit more aggressive because I'd set a really nice first lap that was P1, and it was P1 by nearly 0.3 of a second, so it was fairly comfortable. So I could take the risks with this lap and try and really go for it and see if I could get a 25.5 or something. Because you see, going through the first sector, nearly a 10th up already, so far going really well, and did that corner so much better this time, didn't run wide, and that enabled me to get on the power a lot better. And then going into this corner, trying to hook up the braking, tried to push it a little bit too aggressive in braking. See there, missed the apex, maybe lost a 10th or so there, but managed to get a reasonable exit. So probably about half a 10th to a 10th lost in lap time there, but nothing massive. And now down into the next braking zone, you can see nearly 2 tenths up on my previous lap. So this was heading for a 125.7 or 8, something like that. It was really going quite nicely, and actually hooking that bit up quite nice down into third gear, hooking this corner up really well onto the power, nice and early. Everything's going really well at this stage. Down into second gear, and actually got too much grip for that corner. I actually turned in too much, a little bit wide there, but not a massive amount of time lost. But then in the final corner, really trying to get on the power early and really get the hybrid working, and lost the rear end, and that bogs it down and loses the hybrid. So you lose about 3-4 tenths straight away by when that happens. So unfortunately the final corner, a little bit of a mistake, and we go over the line. I think it's going to be another 26.2, so another a 26.297. so not a particularly great lap on that final with the final corner, but it was heading for a 1 minute 25.8 or something. I think it would have been a 25.7 or 8. So we're going to start the race. We managed to still hold on to pole position anyway with that heavy fuel lap. Luckily it was a good lap that still got me pole position. Got some very good drivers in this lobby. You can see there Williams driver, Rick 918, obviously a very fast driver there behind me also. So a lot of really good drivers in this lobby, and Oscaro, Olegna are also behind me. So it's a competitive lobby. I think there was over 2,500 points for the win. So we're going to start obviously with the replay camera. You can see me straight away trying to break the slipstream, everyone following in the distance. It looks amazing on GT Sport when you've got these LMP1 cars, and I do prefer it when everyone, I know it was pretty much a Porsche race, everyone in the same car, but it looks so much better when everyone's in these cars and not the concept cars. It really looks good on the replays, as we see. One thing I did forget to do was load my livery up. Apologies to the person who's done my liveries, Monkey 12 I think he's called now, but I forgot to actually put it on, and I only realised when I was in the lobby, so there was nothing I could do. But it's not really an official season this anyway, so no real loss. But you can see driving really well so far. Building a little bit of a cushion up there to Rick, and that is obviously what I wanted to try and do, is to try and push really hard on that opening lap, on this opening lap, to really build the gap up so that he can't pick up the slipstream. It's so important, especially with that long straight at Fuji, to avoid them picking up the slipstream to get into an overtaking position going into turn 1. It's pretty much the only real overtaking chance on the track. I do love Fuji. It's one of my favourite tracks, I think, on the game now. I really like the flow of the track. I like the technical last sector. I enjoy the fast flowing corners. It's pretty much got everything. It's got a long straight, so overtaking is possible. A really enjoyable track, as you can see. So close to losing that slipstream already. He's about 8 tenths behind. He's in a different car. He chose to race the Toyota for this race. I'm not sure whether that was the right choice. It's not a bad car here, but it'd be interesting to see. Some people were doing a no-stop strategy with the Toyota. I did notice that someone mentioned it about one of the Asia races. Someone did a no-stop in the Toyota. But you can see they're building that lead up over 1 second now and driving really well. Broke the slipstream, so now I can just concentrate on increasing this lead and trying to push really hard. And this is really good to see that I'm able to extend the lead over some very fast drivers on the game. You know, some of these people in this lobby are very, very well-known drivers. You know, Rick918 is an extremely fast driver. You know, he can compete at the highest level, so it's great to be able to extend that lead and pushing really hard and showing that the pace is definitely getting better. It's still getting better, I feel, on this game. I'm actually feeling like I've got to another stage now where I'm able to compete at even a little bit more fast, you know, a little bit faster level now. So it's really enjoyable to be driving this well at a track like Fuji in the Group 1 cars and extending this lead to, again, you can see there, he's nearly up to 2 seconds already. So driving pretty much perfectly on these opening 2 laps and just pushing really hard. This is all about now trying to build up the lead, because I wanted to pit. I really wasn't sure when would be the best time to pit, because obviously the risk of pitting on lap 6 was the traffic issue. So if I could build up a lead, maybe I could counter that by pitting at lap 7. I really didn't know how it would work out, but you can see that Rick has actually been overtaken by the Williams driver. So I've got the other Porsche behind me now, and I've just got to keep building that lead up and try and extend it to at least 2 to 3 seconds, and try and just keep pushing and keep the consistency all the way to the pit stop phase. Obviously a 13 lap race, it's always one of them races where you just don't know what to do with the pit stop, but you know, at the moment the car was doing everything I wanted to. The hybrid was working okay. It didn't seem to be affecting me massively. I think because obviously P2 isn't in my slipstream also, you know, some people were managing to get better hybrid routes out of the start straight. It's something that I'm thinking of doing a video on and trying to work out, get it so that I've got it really spot on, and then let everyone know how to do it, because these Group 1 cars do need some management with the hybrid to get the most out of these cars, especially in the race conditions. In qualifying it's okay because you'll find you have enough hybrid pretty much for 1 or 2 laps. It doesn't really run out, it's there. But then after 2 laps your car starts to fade the hybrid on the straights. And you see, one thing I was doing there was I was staying in 3rd gear going onto the straight. I think really I should have been going down to 2nd gear and using the revs in 2nd gear and then going into 3rd gear. And obviously also trying to work out the braking as well is another thing that I do need to work this out properly in this car. Unfortunately the Porsche doesn't have a hybrid use in the cockpit. I think the Audi R18 or I think possibly has the use of the hybrid system on the screen, so you can actually see when you're in the cockpit view how it regenerates. So that's some advice if you want to have a test before I do a video. Obviously you go in there, have a little look. That's what I'm going to probably do, is have a little look how that car regenerates its hybrid. I presume it's the same method as the Porsche we're driving here. Probably will be using the same method to regenerate it anyway, as I don't think the physics are that in depth. They're going to have changed so many different things, but it'd be interesting to see if it is the same. My guess is it is, and hopefully do some work on that, get a video out and try and show everyone exactly how to get the most out of the hybrid unit on the Porsche hybrid LMP1 Group 1 car. But you can see so far in this race, so far we're coming up to the end of lap 4 and we've built that lead up to over 2.2 seconds. It changes around where the hybrid's in different positions. You can see it just seems so random that, you know, if we're going to keep an eye on the gap, you can see it goes to 2.4, then 2.3, and then we're going to get to straight now. Now this is where I tended to lose out to other cars on the straight, because the hybrid, you'll see the driver behind. At the moment it's not a massive difference, it's staying around 2.2, so maybe at this point in the race it's not that much of a difference, but we're going to see obviously later on in the race how it changes. I don't know if it's a pit stop that could cause the change in the hybrid where it deploys and stuff, but it's really strange, and you're going to see it as we progress to further in the race how the hybrid just seems to wear off differently on different cars, and it's obviously something to do with the way you're regenerating it. But you can see so far in this opening stint, everything's going really well. 2.5 seconds ahead, and actually just increasing the lead every single lap and driving really well. You can see I was really in the zone, hooking the corners up, not really made any errors so far in this race, was really on it at the moment, and was really happy. At this point in the race I was thinking, this is a good chance of 2,500 points. It looks like one of my best wins, to be fair, if I could hold on to this against some very strong competition. Everything was going perfect, to be honest. The only thing I was a bit worried about was P3 with Rick. Was he going to go on a no stop, and how would the Toyota's tyres actually hold up? One driver in the Asia region actually managed to hold on, I think, all the 13 laps and win the race, but I'm not sure what the competition was like in that race, so it'll be interesting to see what Rick decides to do. We've got the gap nearly, it's actually up to 3 seconds now, so driving pretty much perfectly as we come into the end of lap 5, and now we're going to be coming through to the, what lap to pit on. Will drivers pit at the end of lap 6 or do the end of lap 7? For me now, with the 3-second lead, I was thinking it's got to be the end of lap 7, because I'm increasing the lead, and if I can keep the gap around 3 seconds, even if I lose a second or a second and a half, a second maybe, I'm still going to be over 2 seconds in the lead, I was thinking at this point. As long as I can stay out the slipstream, that's going to be really important. So for me at this point now, I was thinking, let's play it safe, let's not risk getting caught in traffic and getting in mixture of cars that are not obviously on fresh tyres, and it gets risky. You can pick up penalties, you can get damage, cars not getting out of your way. So I was just going to play it very safe at this point. You can see 3-second lead, there wasn't really much point in my mind at this point of risking going in the pit. So we're now up to 3.5 second lead, so driving every lap is going really well, and I was thinking if I'm gaining 3/10, 4/10 a lap anyway, so if I just keep this up to the end of lap 7, try and keep lap 7 really smooth, and I should come out the pits 2 seconds clear easily. Obviously the undercut, I have no idea what the undercut was going to be like, and it's just going to be a case of just hoping that it's enough. It looks like it should be enough. There's obviously not the best exit from that corner. You can see the driver behind actually gained quite a bit on the last sector there, so I made a little error there. I didn't actually notice that when I decided to stay, and maybe I should have possibly thought of going in to see it's 3 seconds as he goes in the pits, but that should be enough to come out the pits 1.5 seconds in the lead at least. But obviously, depending on whether he picks up traffic or not, it could work in my favour. I really have no idea. Rick stays out, but obviously at this point, no one really knew in the race whether he was going to do a no-stop strategy or whether he was going to pit, because lap 7 is going to be when most people decide to pit. But you can see so many drivers pitting on lap 6. Pretty much the P3, 4 and 5, I think, decided to do the undercut. So this is really going to be pretty much a race decide of how this pans out now. You can see my lap times though, so far driving fairly consistently, mainly 1 minute 27, just trying to keep it nice and smooth and not really losing a massive amount of time on this lap, only 7 tenths down on my best lap at this point, so driving really well. So at this point I was thinking, if I'm only 7 tenths down, if I say lose a second to 1.5 seconds on this lap, I should come out in the lead by quite a comfortable margin. I was thinking it probably could be coming out 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds in the lead, depending on traffic, because a lot of cars stayed out. You can't see it on the top right hand corner on the map at the moment, but you can see it in the positions. A lot of cars decided to stay out. You can see that P6 is the car that was behind me, so he's stuck in a little bit of traffic, but how much traffic I'm not too sure. It mustn't be too bad, obviously, if he's in P6. As going in the pit lane, didn't drive it too aggressively, did that very safe. I could have pushed that a little bit more and pretty much gone in there flat out, but I didn't want to risk hitting the wall or anything and picking up a penalty. As P1 now is Rick, he's decided to stay out, so it's clear from that he's going for the no stop strategy. As we come out the pit and we're gonna have a little look, we can see we just come out just in the lead, so the undercut for the Williams driver has really worked out there. You can see he's actually pretty much in the slipstream at this point, so that's it. That's an incredible gain on the undercut, and this was really quite a shock to me, to be fair. I didn't expect to come out the pits with the Williams driver that close to me and in the slipstream. So it's just going to be a case of trying to push really hard and get rid of that slipstream, because if I can break the slipstream, the issue is down the straight. Will the hybrid system come into play? Then he's going to pick up the slipstream even more. It all depends where the cars are picking up the hybrid now. The pit stop seems to play a bit round with hybrid. I don't know if it affects the regen or something. I have no idea how it works, but you can see managing to get the gap to around the second there. It's very close. He's close to picking up the slipstream again. I don't know if he's quite in it there. It looks very close actually. It looks like he's probably just about in the slipstream distance, so it's all going to be a case of, can I just keep it clean all the way as I run a little bit wide out of that corner, trying to drive a little bit too aggressive on this outlap. Obviously I was a bit frustrated at this point that they were that close to me after I had such a solid lead, so I think at this point I thought I should have really pitted. But have a little look at this now. Look at the hybrid system, how much he gained on me. It was about a second lead and he's got it already. Pretty much lost a second I have at this point, you can see, as he's getting closer and closer. So he's actually gained a second with the hybrid and the slipstream down the straight. So this was a bit frustrating. I'm going to have to go defensive on the right hand side. We're riding on board with the Williams driver now as I just brake a little bit later, try and give him space on the outside, holding the inside, give him space down that left if he does try and go around the left, but he can't do it. I managed to get on the power and hold on to that P2 position as we're already nearly catching up to Rick. But I actually got a little tap from behind there, sent me a little bit wide, and that was a little bit frustrating. A little tap in the rear, and wasn't anything massive, but it just unsettled me a little bit at that point. But you can see, look how much they've gained. I had such a big, I had quite a comfortable lead over P2 and 3 and 4, and they've actually managed to catch me up quite a lot with that undercut. So I think really I should have gone for the undercut, just played it a little bit more aggressive, and would have probably come out the pits, 3 seconds clear, and then could have just got straight on it and caught up to Rick a lot faster. And obviously then I would have been able to get past, I could have probably been past him already at this stage, looking at the gap to P2. So it's up in the air. Sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't. Obviously knowing how the race is going to go after it always makes you think you should have done something, but it could have gone the other way. It's possible they could have got held up, but so far this has really worked out for them. And I think one thing that's really causing it, again, look at the hybrid system on that Porsche behind me. He's managing to get a massive boost on the initial second and third, like third gear, fourth gear, and I think it's because he's revving out second gear a lot more than me, and you can see he's actually gone clean past. So my hybrid not working for me down the straight. In other areas of the track it felt okay, but unfortunately for me, I think what it was obviously in the first stint, I had a slip, he wasn't able to get in the slipstream, so where I was strong on other areas, I was just building that lead up, and then he was gaining it back a bit on the straight. But now that he's in the slipstream, it's just like a double boost for him. So unfortunately down to P3, and this is really frustrating. I think it's clear that we're going to get past P1 there, Rick 91, I think it's 918 BMX, yeah. We're going to get past him. It's not really going to be an issue to pass him. So at the moment, it's looking like a battle between 3 drivers. You can see another driver behind me, Apex Chris behind me. And this really does just highlight how much time I did losing the pits, because I think I was about 4 or 5 seconds clear of some of these drivers. And now obviously getting caught up in traffic, I would have obviously been a little bit past Rick by now, and could have probably have extended the lead if I would have pitted on lap 6. So lessons, learn some lessons from this as I go to try and make a move up on the inside. There's a little bit of contact as we go 3 wide. I saw a gap and thought I was going to go for it. I wanted to get aggressive and go for an overtake. I saw an opening, and then unfortunately tried to hang it round the outside, and the tyres got the marbles on it, and I just had no grip, and it just understeered off the track. So really frustrating few corners for myself there. So from P3 down to P5, and now it looks like P6 is going to have a move and try and go for an overtake into turn 1. So I'm going to have to go defensive. We're going to go onto the TV replay cameras. We're going side by side into turn 1. I'm going to try and brake as late as possible and hold that inside line. So braking really late, holding in the inside line, actually run a little bit wide, tiny bit of contact, but nothing massive, and managed to hold on to P1 as Rick, I think that's Rick 918 there, on the steering wide into turn 1 possibly, and losing a position where his tyres have just completely given up basically. The nose stop just not really a good choice. You saw myself, if you would have seen me stream the practice session, and I worked that one out from the practice session, that the nose stop just did not work for myself. So it looks like it's not worked for him either. So now up to P4, but now we're in the dirty air. We've got a car behind, and it's frustrating this because we've got fresh tyres. but we're obviously picking up the dirty air, so I'm trying to drive aggressive. But these Porsche a Group 2 car, the Group 1 car, sorry, they really do get affected by the dirty air when you lose downforce through the corner. You can see the understeer that I'm getting now. When you compare that to the first stint, I was getting no understeer through there. So this is really frustrating, because I feel like I had pretty much a win sorted. If I would have just pitted on lap 6, I think I would have had a comfortable win. So the only good thing is, though, to take from this is the pace from that opening stint showed that I really did have good pace, and it's just a strategy call pitting on lap 7 instead of lap 6. Sometimes it works for you, sometimes it works against you, staying out to lap 7, and so far in this race it looks like it's going to work against me. You can see now, as I've got quite a big gap to make up, 2.8 seconds behind P1 and obviously a little bit behind P3. So you can see at the moment, though, look at it's down the straight. I lose so much time down the straight with the hybrid. It really baffled me. It was an issue in the practice session. I think some people were getting it more in these certain areas, so it's something that I want to do, is to try and work out the best way to get the most hybrid juice out of these cars, and see if there's any little tricks that you can do. It shouldn't take long to work out, especially if, like, I think someone said, I think it was M. Thomas said about the Audi has the display in it where you can see where it regenerates. Obviously the Porsche doesn't. So do some practice in the Audi, try and work it out, and then it's going to benefit everyone in the future if I can get a video out and make it a little bit more equal, because some people are clearly gaining the hybrid. I think it might have just been the way they drive also, obviously using, I think second gear was a better gear to rev out, and then it saves the hybrid a little bit more for third and fourth gear, because I think the hybrid doesn't kick in till third gear by the looks of it. It'll be interesting to see when we go in the Audi to see where the hybrid kicks in on that car. But you can see managed to catch straight back up to P3, but then again just have a little look at the hybrid down straight. Look at the difference in the hybrid there through the early gears. It just completely disappears off into the distance, and we lose about 4/10 of a second. So unfortunate, to be down in P4 after a pretty much perfect qualifying and a perfect opening stint, but really hard to decide. Some people will probably say you should have pitted lap 6, but it could have worked out that pitting lap 7 was going to work out for me, and they could have got caught in a horrible amount of traffic, and I could have come out 5 seconds in the lead with fresher tyres. It's just a case of luck sometimes. The map did show traffic on it, and that's why I was kind of not too sure whether to pit on lap 6, but it clearly worked out for these drives in front. Obviously that issue when I got on the marbles as well didn't help me out, because I think I would have still been battling with P1 and possibly been able to put him under some pressure. You can see we're matching the times, but obviously the problem is we've actually gained a bit on P1 since that incident. We're down to 2.6 seconds, but the issue is, obviously you can see the understeer. As soon as we're getting into the braking areas, we're losing downforce, and it's so hard to pass in these cars. The only place you can do it is into turn 1, and with the lack of hybrid, we're getting down that start straight, it's just really difficult to find them anywhere to overtake, because the speed that these cars carry through the corners, you just can't be, it's so hard to drive that close to a car in really high downforce corners. But you can see again, trying to get on the power as we come through to the final exit of the race, and we're going to go over the line in P4 by the looks of it. We actually gained a little bit on P1 from after that incident, so the Williams driver. So it's clear we did have the pace. It was just a case of a bit of bad luck and a bit of a wrong strategy call, but an enjoyable race, a thoroughly enjoyable race all the way to the end. Still picked up over, I think, a reasonable amount of points, as it was quite a high split race, but it was disappointing not to get the win. I have to admit, I really did think that the win was going to be possible in that. As you can see, Rick all the way down in P13, so really struggling with them tyres, and it really did turn into a bad call to stay out on them tyres to the end. So he actually ends in P14 by the looks of it at the end of it. So he had a pretty much as that. I think he should have pitted for tyres as well, and he probably would have been in the top 5. But you can see, just trying to learn from this. One thing I do think that's really affecting the undercut at the moment is the extreme tyre wear they've got on, because we've got like times 13 tyre wear, and one thing that will affect your tyre wear is the fuel. So when your fuel's lighter, the car is better it actually stays, it keeps the tyres a little bit better condition. So it's one thing I'm going to try and work on and make sure that I remember all the time. Another interesting race coming tomorrow in the Manufacturer Series. That's a really good race. I can't wait for everyone to watch that. It's a real nail biter, really exciting race all the way to the end. As you see, we pick up 2,169 points, so not a terrible race, but it was a possibility of picking up 2,500 points. So a little bit disappointed that a little misjudgment in strategy call cost me the win. But at the end of the day, it's not an official season, so just learn from these mistakes and try and pick up a good race next time, a win or something. But at least the pace was there. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you click the notification button so you don't miss any future videos. And obviously subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. I do try and upload as much as possible. And also we're streaming quite a bit at the moment, up to 2 to 3 times a week. So we're going to keep that up all the way through the year. And obviously just keep going with GT Sport and a few other games. Thanks again for watching, everyone.